Today I'm going to be taking just a quick look at the 2024 Ford F-150. Ford has updated the truck for this year. It's got new front and rear fascias. There's slight tweaks to the interior. There's some new options. This truck that I have is pretty basic. It doesn't have the new Pro Access tailgate. It doesn't have any of the new hybrid powertrain options. But I thought we should take a look at it anyway because I really like this thing. This particular truck in general goes against the general grain that we see in press trucks. Usually the vehicles that are made available for people like me to evaluate are the fully loaded ones, the ones that are decked out with leather, air suspension, adaptive this, automatic that, absolutely every luxury frill you can think of. And they end up being $110,000, $120,000 trucks that are kind of out of reach for most people. But I wanted to spend a minute talking about this because I really like this particular spec of truck. And by that I mean most of the press trucks that are in the media fleets that I have access to are usually the six-figure, fully loaded, leather-lined air suspension, like luxury yachts. And this is not that. This F-150 is an STX, so it's just one step up from base. So it's pretty basic in here. The steering wheel is just straight vinyl. The seats are cloth and manually adjusted. There's no sunroof. You get an old school column shifter. And there's even an old school manual, honest to God key that you have to put into the dash and turn, which I have no problem with. I've never liked push to start. So this kind of caught my attention right out of the gate with this truck. Despite it being pretty basic, Ford has done a bunch of tweaks to make this truck not feel like a super stripped out fleet truck. This has enough nicety to it that you can actually kind of enjoy it and be comfortable. So to that end, these seats, which only have basic adjustment, are really comfortable and the driving position is excellent. They're trimmed in kind of like a bronze and black houndstooth sort of texture material. Feels durable and breathes fairly well and gives just a little bit of visual spice to these chairs. On the topic of visual spice, on the dashboard and on these upper door panels, the upper dash and the upper door cards, yeah, they are just a hard plastic, but it's a textured hard plastic that looks like a textile, looks more like a cloth material. It'll be hard wearing, but there's just enough visual flair to feel like they're trying. We also got painted metallic accents in here. There's some bronze accents on the doors and the center dash. For as basic as it is, it doesn't feel like a penalty box. And another thing that Ford has done that sort of contributes to that is this new, bigger 12-inch touch display, which looks and feels a lot better than the little screen that was surrounded by a huge bezel before on the basic level trucks. It's still running the same version of Ford Sync that we've seen before. It works well, it's easy enough to figure out, but just the fact that it's being presented on a larger, crisper display goes a long way to making the truck feel nicer and more modern. You don't at all feel penalized for not spending the $90,000, $100,000, $110,000 for the Platinum or limited trim truck. This is a very practical, very well thought out space. There is a ton of storage in here. You got a huge tray in the bottom of the door cards. There's a huge deep tray at the front of the center console. There's the thin phone holder in the middle that I really like. And because this is a basic truck that has its shifter on the steering column as opposed to in the center console, there is a huge storage bin there as well where the shifter would have been on the higher level trucks. And that's nice because it opens up that much more room, somewhere else to put your phone, your pens, whatever else have you. And it makes the optional work desk much easier to use because you don't have to push the button and wait for the shifter to automatically drop out of the way. It's just right here, a nice big tray that's easy to use. And then of course it continues to the back. There's a ton of room for rear seat passengers, and then the seats fold up to make a huge cargo area if you can't or don't want to use the bed. And another thing that I really like about the way this truck has been spec'd out is that it harkens back to the idea of being able to build a truck very a la carte without everything being locked behind a ton of packages. So while it's relatively basic in here, under the skin, there's a lot going on. This has the optional 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6 that we've known and loved for a long time now. It's got 400 horsepower and 500 foot-pounds of torque. It also has the optional 355 locking rear differential for better acceleration and to improve towing. And it has the FX4 off-road package. So that gives you retuned dampers in the front, big monotube dampers in the back, and skid plates to help protect some of the vitals of this thing if you're out off-road. And this truck, the way it's configured right now, can tow, I think, a hair over 13,000 pounds and can accommodate 2,400 pounds on the bed. So this is spec'd as a truck that's meant to be honest, meant to be basic, but can still work really hard and can also play pretty hard too. This truck is fun to drive. It's quick, it's got a ton of power, it moves along effortlessly, it handles well, it rides shockingly well, to a point where it's sort of making me second guess what the point of the higher end limited trim trucks is, because this drives great and this is fun. It's tight, it handles well. It's well damped, it's well controlled. There's no big chassis shutters as you find in some other big body on frame trucks. And for all that, it's pretty decent on gas too. Before I came out here and started recording this, I was showing an average fuel economy of 13.1 liters per 100, which is not bad for a truck that can move this fast and do this much. In the past, when driving other half-ton trucks, I've had preferences for one over the other. Like in the case of the Ram, I really love the Hemi engine in those, and they drive and handle wonderfully, but that Hemi's gone now. I like the Tundra, but the ride's a tiny bit on the flinty side. I love the Chevy and GMC Silverado and Sierra twins, especially with the big 6.2 V8. It is so smooth. It is such a nice powertrain. But those have all been loaded $100,000 trucks, and this is not that. This thing comes in at 72 grand. And for how well it handles, how well it rides, how effortlessly it drives, how much power it has, just like the amount of things it does so well at such a competitive price point is really impressive. I think everyone knows the F-150 is Ford's best-selling product. It is one of the best-selling trucks on the planet. They sell a ton of these. They throw every single R&D dollar they have into these things. They try really hard, and it shows, because this truck looks, feels, and drives excellent, and I'm a huge fan of it. It's not fancy, but it doesn't need to be fancy. It feels right. It feels durable. It feels like quality. They've cleaned up some of the quality issues I've seen in previous F-150s. I really like everything I'm seeing here. I think this, to me, sticks out as my favorite truck of the year so far. I love this thing. But stay tuned. In a few weeks, I'll be reviewing a new Ram 1500 with the new Hurricane engine, and I'll be curious to see how that stacks up against this. But until then, for DoubleClutch.ca magazine, I'm Nathan Leipzig. Thanks for watching. Oh, man. Really should probably be more careful with these.